All right, today we're going to talk about the FICA tax, particularly the FICA cap. So my name is Ed Weir, former manager of the Social Security Administration. I've helped hundreds of thousands of people. I've taken hundreds of thousands of applications, retirement, disability. I've helped millions of people with all of those. This is a live broadcast, as you can tell, and I definitely wouldn't record this. I would go back and change it again, but so today, this is how this works. I've been doing this every day for the past 100 days or so. Um, we're going to talk about today's topic, and today's topic is going to be what you see on your screen there. And it should take about 10 or 15 minutes, not too long today. It's powerful information, but it doesn't take that long to convey. And then I'm going to open it up to questions. Any questions you have on all things Social Security, retirement, survivor benefits, spouse benefits, Medicare, Medicaid, all the rest of it. If you're watching this later in a recording, make sure you subscribe, and that way you can find us again if you or your family ever have any questions. All right, here's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the FICA tax and that there's a cap. A lot of people don't know that there's a cap because most of us, I'm sure everybody watching this, pays a FICA tax on all of their earnings. So we've got an example here, factory worker making 24,000. If she's making 24, 36, 48,000, 50,000, $100,000, she is paying essentially 12.4% of her wages into FICA. And you're like saying, no, it's not 12.4%. It's actually 6.2% or it's 7.76 point. Yes, you're correct. So FICA, if you're a regular wage earner, you pay 7.65%. And what is that? So FICA covers two things. When you pay FICA, the Federal Insurance Contributions Act, you pay 6.2% into Social Security, and that goes into your retirement, your survivor benefits, disability, spouse benefits, lump sum death benefit. All those benefits are paid by that part of it, 6.2%. And then another 1.45% of that, of the FICA, goes into Medicare. Okay? And so that's if you're a wage earner. And your employer pays another 7.65%. So this equals, it comes out, to twice that. But in terms of, we're not going to talk about Medicare today. We're just going to talk about the Social Security part of the FICA. So 6.2% times 2 is 12.4%. So this factory worker is only paying 6.2%, but her employer is paying 6.2% for her. So the employer, when they hired her, as all employers since 1935, since Social Security was essentially started, they take that into consideration. Okay, we're going to pay you, $20 an hour, but we're also going to have to pay you, pay 6.2% of your wages and 1.45% in Medicare started in 1965 into those programs. So therefore, okay, we're only going to pay you $18. We wanted to pay you 20, but we're only going to pay 18 because we have to. So you're essentially paying for that 12.4%. It's coming out of your pay one way or the other, directly or indirectly. So, but there is a cap, and this year it's $168,600. So if the factory worker makes $168,600 this year, she's going to pay 12.4% into the Social Security FICA. If she makes anything over that, she doesn't pay into it. So let's go to the guy on the other side, her boss, the factory owner. He makes 100 times what she pays. So he pays the 12.4% on the first $168,600 and then nothing on the rest of it. So if you calculate it as total income, her total income, she pays essentially 6.2 plus 6.2, 12.4%. Out of his total income, $2.4 million, he pays about less than 1%, 0.87%. And because capital gains is not, you don't pay FICA taxes on capital gains, and the factory owner, if they have a smart CPA, accountant, a financial advisor, it's all capital gains and therefore probably pay 0% into FICA. And these are essentially the same people that want to um, you know, get rid of the, you know, privatize Social Security and turn it over to Wall Street, and also increase the retirement age. I'm going to talk about the increase of the retirement age in a video I think that I've got planned for tomorrow. Um, so about one of the issues that Social Security is having an issue with in terms of long-term solvency. You've all heard that, you know, by 2035 the trust fund is going to run out, which is fine, in the sense that the trust fund was there for a specific reason. The trust fund was started in the early 1980s, part of the Greenspan Commission, and they said, okay, you know, we need to do certain things to change the system because, you know, long-term solvency is an issue. So we need to do things differently. We need to change some stuff. So what they did is they increased the retirement age by 2 years. They started taxing Social Security benefits. But one of the problems there's two issues that really messed up their calculations. One is you and your kids and whatever uh, started having fewer kids, and fewer kids into the workforce, paying, you know, not enough FICA taxes being paid in there to support the retirees. So, but that was something that, you know, is crystal ball. It's very difficult to, you know, anticipate birth rate in the future. So they missed that. So in the early 1980s, they said, okay, yeah, if we do this, if this, that, and the other, we should be good for a long, long time. But they didn't anticipate fewer kids. And probably the biggest one is they didn't anticipate the income inequality. Basically, what it is in 1983, 90% of wages were subject to the FICA tax. So they were saying, okay, 90% of future wages should be subject to the FICA tax. Um, and so we should be good in terms of long-term solvency. Yeah, there's a demographic issue we didn't figure out, but income inequality, more money going out of, more money not subject to FICA. Right now, income subject to FICA is about 81.5%. So if we got 90% of income subject to FICA, we would be good for decades more. And so those are some of the proposals out there, is to increase the cap. So rather than the cap being at $168,600, they would raise the cap. There's the Social Security Expansion Act. There was one in Congress that is going to expand it. I think it's what, $250,000 above that. The president, Joe Biden, has one. His, if you go into the whitehouse.gov, his solution is for those people making over $400,000, they will have to pay FICA like everybody else, like the rest of us. And you're saying, wait a second, but the people that make all this money, they don't get that in return, because, you know, it's if we gave them Social Security checks based on how much they actually paid into it, then, you know, they would get, you know, $1 million Social Security checks every month, and that wouldn't be good. But a lot of people don't realize that you're already being subject to a limitation already that you don't know about. Your benefits, everybody's benefits, is calculated. It's called the PIA, the primary insurance amount. And how it goes is, when you retire at 62, 65, 67, whatever, Social Security calculates your PIA, your primary insurance amount. And how they do it is they take an AMI. It's the averaged indexed monthly earnings. So they look at your high 35 years of earnings, and they index those earnings for essentially a wage index inflation to today's dollars. Actually 2 years ago, but anyway, they index it. They make it look like, so if you were, pumping gas in 1970 making $20,000, they're not going to look at $20,000. They're going to say, okay, that $20,000 today is worth 80,000. So that year he made $80,000. And then they take the average of your earnings, and they say, okay, over the whole 35 years, this person made, $5,000 average throughout their life. Okay. And then they take this bin point formula, And for the first $1,174, they multiply it by 90%. So you get 90% of the first $1,174. And then anything over 1174 to 7,078, you get 32%. And then if you make over, so if your average index monthly earnings is $10,000, so from the 7,078 to $10,000, they multiply it times 15%. So there's already a limitation. There's already a cap in there in some sense on benefits. So if they started to tax FICA, if the rich paid FICA like all we have been paying FICA for the past 90 years on all of our income, if they paid FICA tax on all of their income, then perhaps Congress would have to add another bin point in there. Anything over $10,000 or $100,000, the bin point would be 0.00001%, or they would do maybe a max cap, because we've been subject to a max. It's called a family max. If you pass away or go on disability, there's a maximum amount Social Security will pay to you. It's called a family max. It's a lot more restrictive when you receive disability benefits, less so when you receive retirement benefits and survivor benefits. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that understand the family max. I did a video on the family max, but there's a cap that will be paid out to your family. And so the whole thing about, well, it's not fair to cap them. Well, us regular people have been capped for decades. I think that family max, it's been around since the beginning. It changed the disability portion of it. I think changed in 1980s or so. All right, so that is the family. That is the cap on Social Security. A lot of people don't realize that after 168,000 and some change, people don't pay into it. So a lot of people don't realize that. So I wanted to provide that information out there. And let's go ahead. And just kind of FYI side note, the thing about raising a cap, it's been done. Medicare. There is no cap on Medicare. Since 2013, there is no cap on Medicare. In fact, starting 2013, there's actually an extra. So people pay, the rest of us pay 1.45% plus the employer part. But if you earn over $200,000 as an individual, you pay another 0.9%. Again, none of this applies if you're capital gains, which most, the very wealthy, most of it's capital gains, so they don't pay FICA or anything like that. So, and the whole IRS tax switch situation is, anyway, but in terms of Medicare, there is no cap for Medicare. So that's been around for, decades, and, the country hasn't ended yet. All right, let's go ahead and get into some questions. Anything, let's see. Instead of raising the payroll FICA, raise the cap to 350. Yeah, there's two ways to solve, the long-term solvency of Social Security. There's cut benefits or increase revenue, just like any other business in the world, your family. It's like either we got to cut expenses or get more income. So cut expenses would be raising the retirement age, and increasing the FICA cap for everybody would obviously bring in more income. No factory worker makes 168,000. I don't know. I talk to people all the time. Oh, not a factory worker, but engineers and stuff that work in factories. Yes, they do. And probably I know a lot of plumbers and electricians that make that money. So rich politicians will never impose taxes on themselves. Well, they did with Medicare. The rich politicians and their buddies on Wall Street and their contributors and stuff. It's going to be a tough fight, but I think we shouldn't raise the white flag, before we even get started, because if we don't even try, I'm going to talk about this tomorrow. Then anyway, yes. So Zippy, get rid of the FICA tax cap. All right. I've been working since 1979 and have never earned more than $18 per hour. I'm still struggling. Yeah, it's, I just had somebody comment in my comments yesterday that, we shouldn't mess with people that are rich because they work hard. And I'm like, okay, so anybody that doesn't make over $100,000 doesn't work hard? And I think my father, a long distance truck driver, would have disagreed with you. And My mother, who was a waitress in a breakfast restaurant, would definitely disagree with you having to wake up 3 o'clock every morning. I think they worked hard. I'm sure a lot of y'all work hard out there. So yeah, that was, yeah. Social Security has no cash, just a special stack of treasury bonds that the government has put onto a credit card every year. Yeah, that's an argument that's been made since 1936. It's since they started Social Security, that's one of the. It's just a bunch of useless IOUs. But and if it's a bunch of useless IOUs, it's full faith and credit in the United States. It's the same stuff that's in your wallet. So I always tell people when they say this, okay, if that money in your wallet and your bank account is worthless, please go down, take all that money out, and give it to your local animal shelter because they don't think it's worthless. And Warren Buffett doesn't think it's worthless. He just cashed out a bunch of Apple and put it in treasury bonds. Japan, England, Canada, Luxembourg, China, they are some of the biggest purchasers of those same treasury bonds. And your 401k probably has those same treasury bonds. So yeah, that's always an interesting argument when everybody always goes to treasury bonds because they are the safest investment in the world. But for some reason we think it's all useless IOUs. So yeah, it's always perplexing to me. Couple married both at 67. His PIA is 3 times more than hers. They both retire the next day after marriage. When is she eligible to claim on his work rec or wait no, a year? So usually it's within a year, but I would, because there's so many changes of Social Security and stuff. If you get married, I'd go down there and check it out, and file a claim and see what happens. Because there's exceptions. If she was receiving benefits from another and got divorced, and she's still receiving spouse benefits, you don't have to wait a year. So basically, if she's receiving her benefits on her own record and also receiving spouse benefits, and she got divorced from that person, she was married to that person for 10 years, she's entitled to continue those benefits because she was married to that person for 10 years. But now, if she's remarried to you, there's an exception that she can change to your benefit amount rather than her divorced spouse benefits. So I would call them up and check. We acknowledge receipt of the bank details. Well, for you, okay, yeah. Baltimore, you will be notified. Yeah, you sent that to me yesterday, and I have no idea what you're talking about. Bank details. Is this an international claim? Is this a disability claim? Did you change your direct deposit? Yeah, so it really depends. I'm sorry, I can't help you out with that information. Let's see. So if I receive disability, do I get widow's benefits too? Yes, you can very well get. A lot of people think they can't. When people are receiving disability benefits, I just did a video on this, became pretty popular. It's the video title says 2 checks. That if you receive disability benefits and you're also entitled to survivor benefits at 60 or some spouse benefits at 62 or whenever the case may be, you'll continue to get your disability benefits. You'll continue to get your Medicare based on those disability benefits, and then you'll add benefits on top. Obviously, it's minus what you're already receiving, but if that benefit amount is more than your benefit amount for spouse benefits, it has to be twice your PIA, your primary insurance amount. But yes, you will. Biden-Harris administration wants to do away with Social Security, Medicare, and give Medicare. Wow. That is 100% an incorrect statement. Yes, they have plans. I just did a video on this a few days ago. They actually have plans to save Social Security, and one of them is to raise the cap for those making over $400,000. And yeah, so please, yeah, that is 100% incorrect. Being on SSDI 59, does my SSA retirement amount change at 67? Nope. When you turn your full retirement age, if you're on disability, when you turn your full retirement age, your benefits will automatically be switched to retirement benefits. You won't even know the switch because your check will stay the same. Your direct deposit will be the same. So it's just an accounting bureaucratic thing. But the good thing is no more CDRs because you're no longer on disability. You're on just regular retirement. You can work and you don't have to notify Social Security, and there's loan limitations, and you're free. They should get rid of the cap completely. That it will extend insolvencies to the 2060s. This is a no-brainer. I agree 100%. I think they should get rid of the cap. Or and people say it's not fair. It's like, okay, let's make a deal. We have paid FICA on all our income for the past 90 years. So to make it fair, let's have y'all pay FICA and all your income for the next 90 years, and then we'll figure out something after that. But yeah, let's make it fair. Um, yeah, Carol, you really got to watch my video. Trump, if you look, I just did a video on him. You know, I don't want to get political, but I just look at, I don't talk about anything else. But in terms of Social Security, Medicare, he has zero plan. He has no plan to other than make the economy bigger and trickle down economics, and everything will be fine. But yeah, that's the only plan. All you have to do is go into the Make America Great Again. I've got the link. I will, please, yes. Social Security. That's why the retirement age is where it is. That's why we're having issues with Social Security. Is people in the 1980s and people today are unfortunately not looking at the details. I am going to put in, so there is the plan. I hate to call it a plan because there is no plan. I mean, I'm not getting political here. I'm just saying, if you look on it, on the face of it, there is zero plan there at all. And there is the Biden and Harris had a similar plan before she became vice president. So there are the links to those candidates' ideas for Social Security. So please, before you know, if your vote is based on keeping Social Security, Medicare around, please watch those. Please read those. All right. China dumped 50% of its U.S. Treasury bond this year. Yeah, but they, you know, for other reasons, they've got a real estate crash going on there, so they needed the funds to store up their. Yeah, they were building houses and entire cities with. Yeah, it's yeah, for other reasons. Did not receive my death benefit. Should I call them on that, even though I already spoke with a rep on this after my wife's death? It really depends how long ago. So death benefit, are you talking about the that awesome $255 lump sum death benefit, the embarrassing one? Or are you talking about your monthly benefits? Yeah, if either one of those, if you haven't received your check in, you know, 3 or 4 weeks, I would definitely call them up and say, hey, what's going on? It might be a new employee, and it might be under review. There's all kinds of different reasons. Top wage I earned was $18 an hour doing factory assembly. Did mandatory 612s and paid others to do what I should have been able to do at home for myself. Feel stupid now that broken body. Yeah. What is the form used to file a complaint against SSA person or office, and where do you take the form? Is it online? Yeah, you can call the 800 number, file a complaint. There is a form you can fill out online as well. There's cards in the office you can fill out. Absolutely. Probably the best way is to yeah, call the 800 number, and they can put in a complaint in there. Let's see here. Spouse. No, most likely will be no change when you switch over from SSDI. Correct. There's no switch, other than the fact that you're now free. Thank you for correcting the statement about President Biden. They want to add benefits, not cut anything. Please do your research. Yes, please. Again, it's just the facts. It's in black and white there. You know, regardless of what the name says, you know, read those two proposals without even thinking of this is Biden's or this is Trump's or this is Harris's or this is Wall, or, you know, Vance or whatever the case may be. Just read them, you know, blind, and then say which one you agree with. Spouse is receiving SSDI and I am 62. Can I get Social Security spousal benefits at her SSDI rate if my SSI payments are lower at age 62? Spouse SSDI rate. What it basically is, yes. If your spouse is getting retirement benefits or disability benefits and you're 62, then you can get spouse benefits. You have to file for benefits on your own record first, and then you file for benefits on your own record. And then if there's any money left over, that person's benefit amount has to be twice your full benefit amount. If it is, then you get up to 50% of that benefit amount. Yeah, our debt is 35 trillion now. Yeah, so if if the country just folds up and the full faith and credit in the United States means nothing, and we're not able to pay back anything, I would argue that if we're going to stiff anybody, let's start with, sorry, Japan, Luxembourg, Canada, China, your 401ks, Warren Buffett and Bezos and all the, billions they have in treasury bonds. I say we just, stiff all those guys and use the leftover money to pay Social Security benefits so the people, don't go back to the Great Depression. So there you go. In fact, Trump has no plan. Please do your homework. People, if the House would do the job, he would get all the better benefits. Yeah, that's another issue. The House is, their recent proposal is to cut $500 million from Social Security, from Social Security Administration. And that's the Social Security Administration, terrible customer service, but their ultimate job is to help you get your benefits. And if there's nobody there helping you get your benefits, then that's essentially a roundabout benefit cut. And as you know, if you watch this channel, we find money for people every single day. So I love the fact that you suggest supporting animal shelters. 5 rescue dogs and send dollars through shelters every year. Yes. So yeah, there are all those people that said the money is useless and it's all IOUs. And I say, put your money where your mouth is. Put your money where the dog's mouth is, or cats, or snakes, or whatever. Trump said he will pass law, no tax on Social Security. Yes. And that's, yeah, I need to do a video on that. That is, half of the people in the United States that receive Social Security benefits do not pay taxes. So it doesn't help, half of the people out there that are really struggling. People that have other money from 401ks and other pensions and stuff that are doing well-ish pay taxes. So it's only going to help the top. And because there's no other plan to shore up that loss of revenue, that's going to bring in the insolvency date, not insolvency, that's going to bring in that date. So we're looking at, instead of 2035, we're probably 2034 and 2033. So that's essentially a cut to benefits. If there's no other, I agree. There shouldn't be, again, 50% of the people don't pay a tax anyway because they don't make enough. There should be maybe another 10 or 20% in there. But if you're making an extra $1 million on your 401ks and IRA distributions and stuff like that, I can see a tax. Yeah, I mean, but if you get rid of it, you have to have other solutions to shore up that revenue loss. And if you don't, then it's a cut. It's just another roundabout cut. Sorry. Reality. I told Social Security I was ready to start my retirement last Thursday. I sent me the paperwork for the application. May I change my mind at the late moment? Yeah, you can change your mind for the first 12 months. You can completely withdraw your application. So paperwork, not sure what SSA 1 is, the form you do for the retirement application. Yeah, I think I've processed 2 paper applications in my entire career at Social Security, over hundreds of thousands. So, but anyway, however you put it in, and if you get your first check, or if you get your first 12 checks, you can change your mind. You have to withdraw the application and you have to pay all that money back. So yeah, you can call them up and say, yeah, never mind. I'm going to wait, for a few more years, few more months, whatever the case may be. And no problem whatsoever. And if the check has already been deposited, then just pay it back. And it doesn't affect anything. So when you file later, no issues whatsoever. I'm on SSDI. I worked for 9 months during my disability. When I reach my FRA, will they calculate a new Social Security payment because it should have raised my benefit amount? Yes, anytime. Well, not on disability, because you didn't take early retirement. But the 9 months, obviously, that's your trial work period. So good using that. The only way it will increase your benefit amount is if that 9 months and whatever else you did that year is one of your high 35 years of earnings. So if that year was one of your high 35 years of earnings, then yeah, it will calculate it. You don't have to wait till fraud. That'll happen next year. Social Security looks at your earnings every single year, and yeah, um, increases your benefit amount if it's one of your high 35 years. There seems to be more disabled younger and older adults and children that are not productively working and add to the Social Security Trust Fund. It was planned for solvency. Yeah, actually, the Disability Trust Fund is actually doing very, very well. That's one of the reasons the Retirement Trust Fund is they add 1 or 2 years on there because there's so much money in the Disability Trust Fund. But if you ask a lot of people out there that they hate Social Security because they believe they're disabled and they were denied for disability. So yeah, that's a broad accusation that you need to back up with an actual analysis. Is it true that when I retired and reside in Manila, Philippines, I can also available Medicare at St. Luke's Medical Manila? No, I don't think so. Um, there is some guy living in the Philippines that is trying to get some type of law passed where you can use Medicare overseas, but yeah, I don't think that's ever going to happen. So what a lot of people in the Philippines do is they, if they want to keep Medicare, if they're not certain whether they're going to stay there forever, they keep Medicare and go to Hawaii or Guam. All right. Could you please explain that CDR by age, they will less CDR? But not necessarily. I did a few videos on CDRs and how it's done. It's almost a 100% budget type issue. If right now there is a pause on CDR, so there's continuing disability reviews for those people on disability. So there's no more CDRs until the end of this fiscal year. So they're going to restart them up in October. But yeah, if your number comes up, if your cycle is 3 years or 5 years or 7 or whatever the case may be, and your number comes up and you're 65 years old, and that local office has a quota of one more CDR, you're going to get it. So I just shot in the dark. Social Security has contacted me saying I owe them $14,000. Now they are saying I am not entitled to divorce spouse benefits because I receive a government pension. They sent me a award letter in February. Yes, if you are receiving a pension from the government, state, city, local, and you did not pay into Social Security, once because a lot of people do this and it's a smart thing to do, if you're going to get one of these non-covered pensions and you're subject to the windfall elimination provision or the government pension offset GPO, a lot of people do, they start their benefits and they don't get that reduction. But when you start getting that pension, you have to notify Social Security. If you don't notify Social Security, then they're going to send you a letter for $14,000 overpayment. Yes, unfortunately. So yeah, it's incumbent upon you to notify them that you received a non-covered pension. Could Social Security save enough money by just cutting back here and there? No. Maybe means testing spousal benefits. That's yeah, I mean, around the edges. It won't make add another year or maybe stopping payments to children older than their fathers, maybe lengthen divorce requirements. Yeah, all of those could happen. Those are all cuts and benefits. But yeah, don't know how popular those would be. Under the Republican Study Committee, is that the name? Republican Study Committee, which was made by the House and a bunch of Senate Republicans. That was one of their proposal is to means test spousal benefits. So if you're receiving a lot of other benefit money, then you don't get spouse benefits. Stopping payments to children older than fathers. So that's probably disabled adult child benefits. If you're 30, 40, 50, 60 years old and you became disabled before the age of 22, you can get benefits on one of your parents' records. So I don't think there's any proposals to stop that. Maybe lengthen the divorce requirements. Yeah, I don't think there's any proposals to do that one either. But yeah, those are all possibilities. Again, those are all cuts. On Social Security disability, how much can a couple make before paying taxes? Yeah, I don't do taxes. Sorry. My sister is 57 and a half with MS. Wow. And disabled since 32 and had less than 10 work credits, 10 work years, 40 credits. Her husband has Alzheimer's and was on SSDI for 9+ years, but it is now on SSA since he turned fraud this year. Yeah, so she can get, my sister's 57 and a half, but the disabled 32 and had less than, so she's not entitled to benefits on her own record. Her husband has been receiving benefits. So once she turns 62, she can get spouse benefits. That's pretty much the only thing she can get. If he passes away, then she can start her surviving spouse benefits at 60 years old on his record. Yeah. So unfortunately, that is the only thing out there. Benefit of $1,900 a month. Oh, is this the second part of the question? Let me see. Yeah. It's hard for me to see the questions and they pop up here all the time. He also collects a small amount of disability from his former employer. Is my sister entitled to any benefits other than a spousal benefit? Okay, yep, Diamond Dave. So you can see I've done this a few million times. I already knew your question before I read the second part of it. So hopefully that answers your question. Do you have an acronym definition key somewhere I can reference? Not really. I think they're on. I've seen one. I don't think it's on the web, the Social Security website. It's in my head, if that's any consolation. Like a lot of garbage and cobwebs and all the rest of it. Can my wife at 63? I might have to put one of those together or something. But anyway, can my wife at 63 collect half of my Social Security amount until she reaches fraud, then switch to hers? No. She has to file for benefits on her own record. And then if your benefit amount is twice hers, over twice hers, then she can collect benefits. Yes, Penelope answered that question. Penelope is awesome like that. All right, let's see on this other, can you leave money in your bank account monthly when collecting Medicare retirement? Medicare, yeah, Medicare has no relevance to how much money you have in your bank. Medicaid is an issue, but you said Medicare, so. I can married to a veteran. He passed 3 years ago. Can I receive veteran benefits? Yeah, unfortunately, even though I'm old Marine Corps sergeant, I don't know much about VA stuff. Eventually, when this channel gets big and all this kind of good stuff, I want to bring on another Social Security expert, which is very difficult to find because they don't want to talk about Social Security once they retire. But I also want to bring on a VA person, maybe a tax person. I find Medicare confusing when you apply for parts A and B. Do you still need a supplement? Yes, Medicare is way, way, way too confusing. I agree. Do you need a supplement? Unless you got a few $100,000 sitting around the bank, I would definitely get a supplement. All right, so Part A covers your hospital. Part B covers your doctors. Part A for most people is 0 premium. Part B is $174.70. But Medicare, original Medicare, as they call it, A and B, there's 6 major gaps. The big one is Part B. So if you have a $100,000 surgery, Medicare pays $80,000, but you have to cop up the other $20,000. So a lot of people can't do that, so they get insurance. They either get a Medicare supplement plan or a Medicare Advantage plan, and both of those have their goods and bads. So you need to figure out which one you want. Get with a agent or a broker that you know and trust. Because there's so many bad actors out there, I just went ahead and found my own team. So if you need help, I've got links on the top of my pages and I just put it in chat. It's a link tree thing. You click on there. And also because there's going to be a lot of changes next year, I highly recommend reviewing your Medicare plan, Medicare Advantage plan in October, because there's going to be a lot of changes that you're probably going to surprise you if you don't check. So if you need help with that, click that link there. There's a little section where it says, I need one-on-one Medicare help. And there's an option down there where you can say, hey, I'm good now, but put me on your list for October. And then in October, we'll schedule a time, should take about an hour, to go over, review your current plan and all the changes over your current plan for next year and see if there's anything better out there. And that's a 100% free service. Nobody charges you anything for that. I've been on SSDI for 9 years, did not need Medicare, stayed on Hubs' insurance, now getting ready to turn 65. Will need Medicare. Will I pay penalties? No, if you've had health insurance, so you were first entitled to Medicare when you were on disability for 2 years. So at that time, you should have signed up for Medicare. But you didn't because you had health insurance from your husband. So good. That's exactly what you should do. As long as it was based on current work, it wasn't a retirement plan or COBRA. He was currently working, and you had health insurance from his current work, and his employer had 20 more employees, then no penalty whatsoever. You're good. So once you sign up for Medicare, there's two forms that you have to do, the 40B and a 564, and you just fill those out and you start your Medicare Part A and Part B, and then you have to figure out, how you're going to fill in all those gaps. And if you need help, reach out to us and we can help you out. Can I begin my Social Security and not start Medicare Part A and Part B? Absolutely. Well, Part A is automatic, but you can refuse Part B, save yourself the $174. So yeah, you can start your money at 62, 63, 65, 66. And if you're currently working, have health insurance from work, just say, yeah, just give me my money. And obviously Part A is free. But no Part B. I don't want to pay the $174. And when I stop working, I will reach out to you. And yeah. Let's see here. My son has Crohn's disease. Can he get government help? In terms of Social Security, if you're disabled and unable to work, regardless of your disability, I would file for disability because people always say, well, that particular condition, is not going to be approved, and you never know because you tell somebody that, and I hear lawyers saying all that time on wherever, oh, that's not an approved disability. It's like, but then you scratch the surface on that person, and they say, well, yeah, okay, that disability, but because you have that disability, you're taking these medications to solve this disability, but the medications make you go to the bathroom 30 times a day or fall asleep. And who's going to hire you? You can't get a job. And then they say, oh, I also have that. I never really thought about this other disability I have. You put those together. So I always say, apply and watch my videos I do on disability. It gives you all kinds of internal insider secrets and tips, tricks, and secrets. VA disability does not affect SSDI at all. Correct. That is correct. Yes, a little birdie told you. Yes, that birdie was correct. Okay, the second part of the Social Security sent a award letter knowing I receive a government pension and the amount I receive. They want the $14,000 overpayment. Do I file an appeal? You can file an appeal, but that one is almost always denied. Yeah, because two things have to be met in order to waive the overpayment. It is not your fault. Okay, you can make that argument, and you're not able to repay it. $50 a month, $100 a month, or something like that. And even the fault thing, they're going to say, unfortunately, this is reality. I'm just telling you reality. They're going to say you knew you shouldn't have been receiving that much. You should have returned those checks every month. Unfortunately. Brad, $9.99 support. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. You are too awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Supports all this free information we're giving out here. Thanks, Dr. Ed, for sharing all your knowledge and for your service, military and Social Security. Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. You are too awesome. I will turn 65 next year. I work full time with great medical insurance through my work. Do I need to do anything? Nope. Nope. If you don't want to sign up for your monthly benefits, because obviously you're working, and so you're probably going to be over the annual earnings limit anyway. So in terms of Medicare, you don't need to do anything. Once you stop working or reduce your earnings or something like that, then you can, start your money and start your, Part A and Part B at that time. So you are 100% good. Just keep on keeping on. Is terminal cancer exempt from the waiting period like ALS? No, not like ALS, but It is expedited. It's called a Terry case. So if you file for disability and you tell them you're terminal, they will put a super flag on it and it will be approved. I mean, I've had some of those approved the same exact day. Took them in the morning, and before I left the office that day, it was approved, or approved the next day. But yeah, there is still that 5-month waiting period, unfortunately. So I don't need to contact Social Security at all. Nope, not at all. You are good. If you're working and making over the annual earnings limit, the $22,320, and so therefore you don't want to start your Social Security benefits, and you have health insurance from work, yours or your spouse's, and your employer has 20 or more employees, you're 100% good. You don't have to do anything except, well, I lied. You do have to do something. Every year you have to go. I would do this immediately, if not sooner. If you haven't, I'm sure you already have. Go into Social Security, SSA.gov, and check your earnings record and make sure Social Security has all of your earnings calculated correctly, all the money paid into Social Security, because that's how they eventually will determine your benefit amount, is what they have on record. So if their record is incorrect, you're going to get paid incorrectly for the rest of your life. So I would definitely go in there, and if all looks good, then you're good. If not, then come on back here and I'll tell you how to fix it. Only about half of us voted the video up in the main description. 115 watching, 55 upvote. Come on, people. This information needs to go out there. A lot of people out there, hundreds of millions of dollars of people being lost there. If they took the cap off of FICA, which I believe they should, and have always wondered why there was a cap, then the government would take that money and still rob from the fund. Again, done several videos on this. All the money in the trust fund, the $2.7 trillion, is there. It's 100% accounted for, present and or accounted for. It's accounted for. All you have to do is go in again. I need to put the link on there for that one, the trust fund. But you just type in Social Security trustees report, and you can see the $2.7 trillion is there. And the reason it's going away is because, again, a trust fund was set up in the 1980s. Social Security has several trust funds over the last 90 years, and it's basically they're saying, hey, in the future we're going to have a lot of baby boomers, and we need to put some of that money away for those future benefits. So that's why they start up a trust fund. And so that trust fund is depleting. And that's when you save money. If you save money for a trip and then you spend that money, it's not a bad thing. Your money was, saved up for that trip. So same thing. The trust fund was saved up for the baby boomers. The problem is, going forward, after that money is gone, then the current workers that are paying into FICA don't cover the expenditures going out, because of it's a demographic issue. Less kids, plus less money is subject to the FICA tax, because the rich are getting richer, and beautiful for them, awesome for them. But I found a little let me see here, pop this up. Wealth inequality in the United States. People say, well, it's the rich are getting richer, and okay, that's fine. But of the 139 trillion, this is Federal Reserve Bank of the St. Louis. You're looking at 10% of the American population owns 74%, and you're like, what ratio is good or bad? So the top 10%, get richer and own 84% or 94%, and what as an American people, voting populace, what number is good when the top 10% own 99%? What is a good ratio for you? So that's yeah. So there's that. So all right, let's see here. Let me pop this back up. All right, other questions. Brenda, thanks for your dedicated effort. Yeah, you're welcome. All right, I am fine with earnings listed on SSA.gov. Okay, it sounds like you already checked. And please impress upon those young people in your life that are not thinking about Social Security, retirement, and stuff like that, which when we're 20s, 30s, 40s, we don't. And, just make sure, say, hey, kid, you did your taxes this year, right? Yeah, I did my taxes. Well, did you do that last part? What last part? Did you go into Social Security afterwards and make sure your taxes made it to, those numbers made it to Social Security so you won't get ripped off later? Oh, I didn't know I had to do that. So yes, please make sure everybody in your life goes out there and does that, or they won't get the money they're entitled to. All right, let's see. I only pay $70 a month for my health insurance. Wow, that is a good deal through your work. That is awesome. So, yeah, that is another reason people say, "Do I have to do anything at 65?" Again, not if you're going to continue work and you have health insurance for work, 20 employees, yours or your spouse's, yada yada. But and you're also happy with that. So if you're paying $70 per month and it's really, really good, and it doesn't have like a $20,000 deductible where you have to pay the first $20,000. If it has something like that, crazy like that, then you might want to consider, even though you do have health insurance for work, you're like, wow, $20,000 deductible or $5,000 or $10,000 deductible, and it doesn't cover this, doesn't cover this, it doesn't cover this other thing. Then, yeah, that's another thing. If you're happy with it, then you're good. Once I go on SSDI, will I have to pay for Medicare and insurance? Someone was telling me I would have to pay $770 a month out of my check. That is correct. After being on Social Security disability for 2 years, once you're on it for 24 months, then the 25th month, you will be automatically signed up for Part A and Part B. And at that time, again, if you have health insurance from work, yada, yada, as I've been talking about, then you don't have to sign up for it. Just return the Part B. But if you don't have that health insurance, then yes, keep the Part B. And yes, I was just wondering if there might be enough small changes here and there to save Social Security without the cross-board cuts or raising the FRA, but it doesn't sound like it. Yeah, those are what it sounds like. Everybody, 99% of the people agree that the cap should be increased. So small changes, no, I'm not going to do it. So it's either cuts, which raising the full retirement is full retirement age is a cut. So I would argue, and it sounds like many people on here agree with me, that they should just raise the cap. So those making over 168,000. But again, the current president's plan, if you read the link I gave you there, between like 168,000 and $400,000, there's that donut hole there that those people are not going to pay extra FICA. Under Vice President Harris's plan that she supported before she became vice president, it was 200 and I think it was 250,000. So between 168 and 250,000, there is no extra FICA, but over 250,000, there will be, they will pay full FICA like the rest of us. And that is the one solution that all the mathematicians and actuaries say will get us more years added on to Social Security than anything else. Does the SSI DAC recipient have to sign up for Medicare Part A and Part B after 2 years, even if they are still eligible for Medicaid? Yes. Yes, because Medicaid is a welfare-based program, and if you're entitled, but to anything else that you have to sign up for. But if you're on Medicaid, depending on what level you're on, whether you're a QMB qualified Medicare beneficiary or QI qualified individual or SLIMB, there's different categories in each state. If you're on the higher level of Medicaid, your Medicaid office will pay for your Part B premium. So you'll have Medicare and Medicaid. And if you're dual eligible, Medi-Medi, then you can get what's called a Medicare Advantage dual eligible plan. And those will get you a lot of extra benefits depending on your particular area. A lot of baby boomers took some type of benefits early, then continued working until 65 at least, hence less money into the trust fund, besides a smaller population, younger generations. Yes, those are the two reasons. Not necessarily the trust fund. The trust fund was, again, that's a whole separate issue. But in terms of extending the life of Social Security, those are the two issues: less kids and more money going outside of being subject to FICA. I don't really think the millennial generation is that much smaller, maybe just a couple million. Um, yeah, the baby boom is 76 million Americans between 1946 and 1964, 76 million Americans. So that's, yeah, that's pretty large, a lot bigger than millennials. Um, but talking a lot of years, but anyway. But yeah, if you look at it in the 1980s, there were, I don't know what the ratios are. There were like 8 people working to 1 person retired or something like that. Don't quote me on this one, but now it's, 2 or 3 people to 1 person. So that's the issue. So let's see here. Any other questions going through here? Just 3 or 4 more years, I think the cap, just 3 or 4 years ago, I think the cap was 128. Correct. They raise the cap every single year. So this year it's $168,600. I have SSI. Can I work part-time or will my benefits be taken away or reduced? Yeah, watch my video I did a couple weeks ago on SSI and working. It goes into more details. But yes, if you work and receive SSI, because SSI is a welfare-based program, so any other money you have coming in could very well, there's exceptions like a $20, kind of buffer and 1 for every $2, and it gets kind of complicated with SSI. But if you work, you please make sure you notify SSI because you don't want the overpayment and all the craziness with the overpayment. Let's see. About a friend newly diagnosed with dementia. Their job has already complaining about their performance. What are the odds of them getting a quick disability approval? Do they have to be too severe? Yeah, it's right now without a terminal type case, without homelessness, a flag for homelessness, because Social Security is at a 27-year low in terms of staffing. Everything is taking way longer than it should. So yes, please have them file immediately. Because remember, Social Security defines disability as the inability to work. So if this person is currently working and making over $1,550 a month, they're going to be denied. So as soon as they stop working or reduce their income to under $1,550, then make sure they file immediately. Yeah, hopefully they get approved sooner rather than later. Does Social Security go on deceased military husband's PIA for survivor? My benefits of fraud. Also, do I receive his delayed retirement credit in cost of living? Okay, yeah. I don't know where VA military husband. Okay, let's throw out the military thing in terms of, we're not talking about VA. We're talking about Social Security. So a husband's primary insurance amount. Does Social Security go on the husband's PIA for survivor benefits? So survivor benefits, it depends if that person took benefits early. If that person took benefits early, then it's there's called a widow's cap, a rib limb. So it could be anywhere from 71.5% to 82.5%. If that person didn't take benefits, and you're filing at your full retirement age, then you'll get 100% of what his benefits were. And yes, surviving spouses are eligible for delayed retirement credits. I love Penelope's comments. I agree. I love Penelope's comments too. She is awesome. Do you penalize if you don't have supplement insurance or gap insurance? No, not at all. If you get just Medicare, as you know, if you run naked with just Medicare Part A and Part B because you got a couple $1 million sitting in the bank, no, you don't get penalized at all. But if you don't get a supplement or an advantage plan, and you don't have several $100,000 sitting around to cover all the gaps, then yeah, then Going to be an issue. Spouse, thank you. Very kind. Y'all are awesome. Let's see. No, you only get penalized for not taking Part A and Part D during the initial enrollment. You can delay if you have employers. Yes. Good job. Yes. Got an awesome community out there. I just got approved for SSDI. Can you explain Medicare Part B? Absolutely. So this will be my last question. We're at an hour here. So you just got approved for SSDI. That means you've been on SSDI for 2 years. Even if you were approved yesterday, if they went back 2 years to start your Medicare. So you're gonna have Part A and Part B if you're gonna keep the Part B, and Part B covers the doctors. So if you go to the hospital, Part A covers that. There's deductibles, $1,632 every time, several times a year for that deductible possibly. But Part B covers your doctors. So if you go into the hospital, Part A covers the hospital. You actually have surgery. Part B covers the surgery and the doctors in the hospital and stuff. So if you have $100,000, then Part B only covers 80% and you're responsible for the other 20%. So that's why people get a Medicare Advantage plan or a Medicare Supplement plan. If you're on disability, then probably there's a very, very good chance in your state you can't get a Medicare Supplement plan. So the only option you have is a Medicare Advantage plan. So I would get one of those. You can reach out to just click on the little link on my front page there, and I can have someone reach out to you and go through all your options. They're all area specific. And a lot of the Medicare Advantage plans are zero premium. There's other costs in there, but they can find one that, how you find a Medicare Advantage is, number one is you find one that covers the doctors you want to continue seeing, and then you check your medications and see which plan has, the cheapest medications for you. And then you do all the other stuff, how much for a specialist, how much for, hospital and all the rest. So those are your options. All right. Aldo, thank you. You were awesome. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. All right. That'll do it for today. We're